For the delay. Safia was just helping with the talk I have to deliver in a couple of weeks' time. All right, bismillah. You're confused.
She's confused.
You're confused between the three sisters.
Yeah. I always thought Safia was Saika and Saika was Safia. I know them more from here than I know them from there. So there's a very active ear in their discussions. And I need you to put a name and a face together. Who's Nasir?
Nasir sits there, very close shaven hair.
Ah, the one I was discussing. So that's Nasir.
That's Nasir, the GP.
I know Farhad, you see, that's it. But it's just that sometimes the personalities here are very fiery and
Nasir has
see them in person.
Nasir has the Mancunian. No. Nasir has the Mancunian sense of humor. Very Mancunian sense of humor.
So I deliberately held back in the break and did not ask you controversial questions. I had a few. I directed all my focus onto poor Amina, and she's feeling worse for it, and you're feeling better for it. So we'll leave it at that.
I have to give a talk in Cardiff, Cardiff University, in what day is it today? What's the date? 14. Oh, in 4 days' time. On Islam and depression. So Safia just gave me some very useful pointers to talk about. So that was good. Alhamdulillah. All is as it's meant to be. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Rabbi yassir wa in ya kareem وافتح لنا بالحق أنت الفتاح العليم. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. صلى الله على سيدنا مولانا محمد كما تحب وترضى بأن تصلي عليه. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. Those of you Arabists, with Ihya is concerned, Ihya is largely self-explanatory. However, this is the Ithaf al-Sa'adat al-Muttaqeen. Ithaf al-Sa'adat al-Muttaqeen, Imam Zabidi's commentary on the Ihya. One of the things it's very good at, although it does the usual kind of interlineal explanation type stuff, one of the things it's actually very good at is definitions. And also the Imam Zabidi was a muhaddith as well as everything else. But he was famous for three things. One was his hadith commentaries. The second is his great dictionary, the Qamus, and the third is his commentary on the Ihya. So one of the things, he is a linguist, so his linguistic discussions are very, very good. And there is actually, to this work, which is sort of 10 volumes, there's actually three not unpublished. No, they are. I think they're published, but they're published separately. They're an index. It's the most awesome index ever. And what it allows you to do is actually look up terms, like for example here, Israr. You could look up the term Israr or Riya or Sum'a, and it will give you all the places that here it's discussed. Yeah, and where the definitions of those terms come. And it's a really, it wasn't Imam Zabidi that put that index together, it was somebody else, but bless them, it was really a fantastic job. Anyhow, chalo.
So how many volumes is the Ihya?
Ihya is 10 volumes, oversized volumes like this.
And they're covering all the 40 books.
It covers, yeah, it covers all 40 books. So this is volume 4, and we're at book 5 of the here. So, okay, anyhow. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. قال الإمام حجة الإسلام أبو حامد الغزالي ونفع الله به وبكم آمين. الوظيفة الثالثة الإسرار. The third of the inward adab of zakat is israr, is maintaining secrecy. فإن ذلك أبعد عن الرياء والسمعة. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم أفضل الصدقة جهد المقل إلى فقير في سر. So it is more ab'adu means further away, but here what we mean is it is more protective against riya and sum'ah. So riya comes from ra'a, sum'ah comes from sami'a. Okay, so sami'a means to hear, ra'a means to see. Riya is both of them relate to intentionality. Okay, riya is to be seen by someone. Sum'a is for what you've done to be heard about. So for people to talk about what you've done. Okay, they're very similar. They're both doing things for the sake of doing things to grow in people's estimation, for people to have a good opinion of you. Okay, rather than doing things for the sake of God. So seeking the approval of, both of them are seeking the approval of creation rather than seeking the approval of the Creator. Okay, both of them therefore are fundamentally a type of blindness. They're both a type of blindness. They both have all of these things. Ikhlas, Riya, and Sum'ah, they go together. Both of them are united by their transactional quality, you might say. Okay, so Ikhlas, at least the lower levels of Ikhlas, is to do something in order to win the approval of God. This is Ikhlas. I'm doing something so that Allah is pleased with me. Okay? Riya and Sum'ah are I'm doing things to win the approval of people. Okay? And the idea here is, you might say, your actions have an audience. All right? And I'll come to the point about Israr in a second. All our actions have an audience. We are actors on a stage. And all of our actions have an audience. Okay? If the audience that you see is people, you will seek to win cheers rather than boos from people. Okay? However, the true audience is God. God is the one who is watching your actions. And the true approval is the approval of God. And the true disapproval or approbation, if you like, is the approbation of God. And the true bad opinion is the bad opinion of God. However, you can be distracted from the audience of God by the audience of people. Okay? You can be distracted from the audience of God by the audience of people. Right? When you're on the stage, if you like, there is an audience in front of you, and then there are cameras. And the cameras are beaming it to the whole world. All right? The cameras are beaming it out to the world. Yeah? The people in front of you might be laughing and cheering, but the people who are watching might be going, oh my God, what am I doing? All right? So, not to to lower the tone. But if you look at Donald Trump, for example, one of the things that he has done in his presidency is hold rallies. He holds a lot of rallies, almost like campaign rallies. Okay? Why? Because the people that come to those rallies will cheer the things that he says. They're self-selecting, right? They will cheer at the things he is saying. But those rallies, of course, are also televised. And most of the people, 95% of the people that watch the rally will be horrified by a lot of what he's saying. But because he doesn't see that, it's almost as though they're not there. The only people that are important are the people that are in front of him. And this is what Riya and Sum'a basically are. Okay? So you do things so that people, the audience that you are playing to, are people. The reason you're doing the action is because of people. What you don't see is the camera. Or perhaps you see the camera, but you don't see who is viewing you on the camera, which is God, the real audience. What you don't recognize is that the audience members are actually part of the play. The audience members are actually part of the play. They're not the audience. They're just actors as well. The audience is only one. And that is God. Okay, so Riya and Sum'a are forms of blindness. They're forms of blindness. And because it is within human nature to expect something back from an action, even if that something is an emotional thing that you get back. Okay? Israr is a principle of worship. Okay? Doing worship secretly is a principle of worship, because worship, the only one that benefits from your worship is you. And you benefit from your worship on the basis of what the audience of one makes of your performance. That will determine whether you get the Oscar or the Razzie. All right? It's the audience of one. Okay? Especially for acts of worship. We'll come to other things, other actions in a bit, but for acts of worship, the only one, there is you and there is the other. But because there are other actors around you who you think are an audience. So when you are praying in the masjid, or in front of people, or when you are giving charity, or whatever it happens to be, okay, you see an audience, you play to the audience. There's always the temptation to play to the audience. There's always the temptation when you're in the masjid to make your rakats a bit longer, to make your bowing a bit deeper, to extend the sajda a little bit. There's always that temptation because it is inbuilt in human beings to play to an audience. We just get confused about who the audience is. What does Israr therefore do? What does doing an act of worship in secrecy do? It removes the apparent audience. You can no longer play to it. You are no longer distracted by that audience such that you feel the need to play to it. Either you're doing this action and there is no audience, or you are doing this action and then there's an audience of one. So a sin committed in secret, because the audience thing works both ways. You don't commit sins in public. Why? Because you are afraid of the reaction. You're afraid of the reaction you'll get. When you commit sins in secrecy, you're no longer afraid of the reaction that you'll get. Because again, you've forgotten about the camera. You've forgotten about the audience of one. All right? So when you are when you are by yourself, there is either an audience of none or an audience of one. Okay? And Tawheed, this is I believe that God is one. This is the one as opposed to zero. Often, we talk about the one as opposed to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? The audience members are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? That's when you're in public. You clear on that? Right? That's when you commit shirk. Shirk al-asghar or shirk al-khafi. Hidden shirk. What's hidden shirk? Hidden shirk is playing not to the audience of 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's shirk. That's why it's shirk. You're not playing to the audience of 1, you're playing to the audience of many. What's the opposite of that? Is when you're by yourself. And then you feel, well, there's no one here now. There's no one watching. I can do what I like. I can do what I like. Who are you playing to an audience? You're playing to an audience of none. That also is counter to Tawheed. Why is it counter to Tawheed? Because Tawheed means to believe in the one that is without the possibility of a zero. The one which entails that there is no zero. So God is 1 as opposed to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, i.e. he is Wahid. But he's also 1 as opposed to not 0, i.e. Ahad. Ahad. God is the logical one. He is the binary one, not just the numerical one. Okay? So that's where the Tawheed comes in. And with the Tawheed. So if you're playing to an audience of none, why pray at all? Okay? Why pray at all? Because there is still an audience of 1. And now you're not distracted by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now you can be more sincere. Okay? The point here is that human beings play to the audience. That's we're built to do that. We're built to be performers. Okay? Who are you performing for? That's the question. The danger with doing actions in well, you can say the danger of doing good actions in public, okay, or the benefit or the benefit of publicness, okay, is that you will refrain from sin. Right? You'll refrain from doing wrong things because you're afraid of the reaction that you'll get. Okay? The harm of the public, and public you mean a righteous public. The harm of a public is that you will do good deeds for their approval. Secrecy or privacy has a harm and a benefit as well. Okay? So the harm and benefit of the public is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The harm and benefit of secrecy lies in 0. Lies in 0 as opposed, but both 0 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the opposites of 1. They're the opposites of 1. And our religion is about focusing on the one for whom there can never be a 0, and the one for whom there can never be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Wahid and the Ahad. Okay? So this is Israr. Israr removes Riya and Sum'ah, or it protects you from Riya and Sum'ah for these reasons. Hence the Prophet said that the best sadaqah is juhdul muqil ila faqirin fi sir, is to struggle to give meager resources, or the struggle of one whose resources are meager to give to one who is even poorer in secrecy. Okay, so what is the best of charity is when a poor person gives, or when you give of something that you have little of. That could mean anything, right? That could mean, you know, your time. You only got 5 or 10 minutes and you're busy, but you give that time rather than saying, I'll get the time for myself, say, I'm going to give that time to someone. Okay? But to give when you have meager resources and to give to someone who is in need of it, right? What is the faqir? The faqir is someone who doesn't have, the destitute person, because they can't give you back. They can't return the favor. It's not a transaction in that sense. It's not, you're not transacting time for time, money for money, and so forth, or money for goods. You're just giving, right? and to do so in secrecy. That's where the sincerity comes in. Okay? قال بعض العلماء ثلاث من كنوز البر منها إخفاء الصدقة وقد روي أيضا مسندا. Right. So some of the ulama have said three things are from the treasuries of righteousness. Among them is secrecy in sadaqah, gosh, what long explanation. I'm just seeing if Zabidi actually gives the other two. Yeah. So he says this is also reported from the Prophet, narrated by Anas ibn Malik from Ibn Sirin, that three things are from the treasuries of righteousness: إخفاء الصدقة وكتمان المصيبة وكتمان الشكوى. So concealing one's charity, concealing one's difficulties, and concealing one's complaint, i.e. complaining to God alone. Okay. Now, okay. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن العبد ليعمل عملا في السر فيكتبه الله له سرا فإن أظهره نقل من السر وكتب في العلانية وإن تحدث به نقل من السر والعلانية وكتب الرياء. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, this is a weaker hadith. He said the person does a servant does a good action in secrecy. God writes it for him as a secret act. Okay, if he does it openly, فإن أظهره, God removes it from the secret acts and writes it as an open act. But if he talks about it, God removes it both from nukila min as-sirri wal alai. It is removed from secret acts and open good acts and written instead in the kitab of Riyah. So if you do something secretly, it's written as a secret act. If you manifest the action, it is written as a manifest act. But if you talk about the action, it's removed from those books and written as an act of Riyah. I remember there was in one of the kitabs, the kitabs are the books which have the stories that don't have any chain of transmission. But anyway, there was this person who, one of the scholars said that there was it's again related to the Prophet, but that is literally impossible because there was only one Hajj in the time of the Prophet. Often there are two Hajjs, but in the 9th and the 10th year of the Hijrah. However, this person says, so he invites someone to his house and he gives him some dates and he says, these are dates from my second Hajj. Yeah, and instantly the reward of both Hajjs are removed. The reward of both Hajjs are removed. Yeah, because the person, what is the person saying? He's actually boasting about having done Hajj twice. These are the dates for my second Hajj. Oh, it's two Hajjs, you've done one, two. You're like Hajji squared. You done two Hajjs. This is a subtle. You're saying, hey, look at me, I've done two Hajjs. That's what you're basically saying. You're saying here are some dates. You're saying here are dates for my second Hajj. Yeah, and the reward of both Hajjs are removed. Were removed from the person. Yeah.
We have nothing there.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? But yeah, this is the point.
We have nothing.
This is the point. Look, Riyah removes your. To be fair, this hadith is not a strong hadith. Let's be clear about that. It's not a strong hadith, right? The point, however, is an important one.
Yeah.
That one of the very few things that can actively delete your good deeds. There's not very many things that can delete good deeds. There's lots of things that can delete bad deeds. Right? There's loads of things that delete bad deeds. There's some of our bad deeds are excused just like rain washes away mud. It just goes. We don't do anything about it. It's not like we're taking the hose pipe out. Just Allah causes it to rain and the car gets cleaned. Yeah? It just happens automatically. Allah forgives from Jum'ah to Jum'ah, and from Ramadan to Ramadan, from here to here, and whatever. Allah is just forgiving. He's just removing the dirt. Now there are certain, kind of, really difficult patches of dirt that you've got to actually physically scrub. You've got to make tawbah, but you can remove them. Sometimes Allah removes things through illnesses or through difficulties and hardships and all that kind of stuff. There's lots of things that remove bad deeds. There's very little that removes good deeds. But one of them is riyah. The other one is anger. Yeah? Be careful of this. And the third one, and probably the most important one on the Day of Judgment, in terms of our acts of worship, is wronging people. He's wronging people. The Day of Judgment, you come with all of your good deeds, mashallah, very nice. But if you've been wronging people, slandering them, gossiping about them, abusing them, oppressing them, what have you, they will seek recompense, and this is firmly established. They will seek recompense. We did this last week in the names of Allah, actually. Al-Muqsid, they will come and they will take their pound of flesh from you by taking your deeds away. The Prophet said, "Atadri manil muflis?" Do you know who is a really bankrupt person? The Sahaba said, "Indana al-muflis man la ala lahu wa la mal." That for us, a bankrupt person is one who has nothing, who has lost everything. He's one who has no wealth and no family. No wealth and no family. The Prophet said that the muflis is the one who will come on the Day of Judgment with good deeds. But he wronged that person. He abused that person. He slandered that person. And they will take in recompense his deeds until he has nothing left. And when he has nothing left and there are still people that he has wronged, he will have to take on the burden of other people's sins. That is the truly bankrupt person. Yeah, we have nothing left out there. Yeah, we have nothing left. That's why the charity, they say that Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani says, the sadaqah of the awliya Allah is that they give from their wealth to those who are impoverished. Right? So what is their wealth? Their wealth is the wealth of good deeds. And who do they give to? They give to the sinful. So whereas on the Day of Judgment, everyone will be trying to grab each other's good deeds because of real or supposed wrongs that were done to each other, the awliya Allah will be giving away their deeds. So you need this. Now, can you imagine they'll be going around people's scales? They'll be going around the mizan, kind of going, go on then. Now, how's that charity? How's that charity? That's the zakat of the Day of Judgment. Can you imagine you're there, you're stuffed and your scale is like this. Yeah, weighed down with evil deeds. And some wali pops up out of nowhere and kind of goes, oh, shame, man. Shame. And chuck something in the scale. One la ilaha illallah. Boom. And it goes like that. Can you imagine? Huh? Talk about your best friend for a BFF. Best friend forever. Literally. That's the charity of the awliya Allah. Yeah? Chala. But beware of this. Look. You only need one good deed. That's all you need. Right? If you've not wronged anyone, you only need one good deed. Right? It's easy to not wrong people. It's hard to do good deeds. It's easy to not wrong people. You just got to not do something. Yeah? So don't harm people. Don't hurt people. This is the easy way to paradise. Just don't hurt people. And then you do what you can. Yeah? Why not you guys, obviously, all of us, it's one step forward, two steps back. Why read the Hajj and let me slander someone? Why read the Juz of Quran, let me go gossip about someone? You're basically doing it for them. That's basically what's happening at this point. Yeah, you're literally you're saying, I'm going to do this good deed, I'm going to give it to you. So you do the good deed, and then you harm someone, and you go, there you go. That's what's actually happening. That's what's actually happening. You are working for other people. And you don't wrong people you like. You wrong people you dislike. So you are working for people you dislike. That's basically what's happening here. Yeah, get a new job. Seriously, get a new job. Become self-employed. Anyhow, chalo. Allah protect us. وفي الحديث المشهور 7 يظلهم الله يوم القيامة يظلهم الله يوم القيامة لا ظل إلا ظله. Famous hadith, 7 people who will be granted the shade, who God will shade on the day that there is no shade except for His shade, i.e. the shade of His arsh. أحدهم رجل تصدق بصدقة ولم تعلم شماله بما أعطت يمينه. The person who gives charity, and he said تصدق بصدقة. Now what this means is, the sense of this is gives a little bit of charity. Okay, the one who gives a little bit of charity, a morsel of charity, but his left hand does not know what his right hand is doing. The famous hadith, to give so secretly that your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is doing. One of the people will be given the shade on the day of judgment. وفي الخبر صدقة السر تطفئ غضب الرب. Charity in secret extinguishes the wrath of the Lord, extinguishes God's wrath. Okay. And Allah says, وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا أَوْ تُؤْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءَ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you conceal it and you give to the needy, this is better for you. Okay. So فائدة الإخفاء, Ghazali says the benefits of this concealment, الخلاص من آفات الرياء والسمعة. As we said, it frees you or protects you from the harm of riya and sum'ah. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يقبل الله من المسمع ولا مراء ولا منان. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ said, God will not accept God will not accept. Now he's the translation. Some of you got the translation: the braggart, the hypocrite, and the person who's always reminding people of the favors he has done. Okay, the word "man" is an interesting word. We'll come to that in a bit. But God does not accept from the one who does things, the musammi', one who does things for sum'ah, for reputation. Wala mura'in, the one who does things for riya. Okay. Wala mannanin. And then it's not al-mannan, the name of Allah. Mannan here means the sense here is to remind someone of minna, to remind someone of favors. Do you remember when I did this for you? Do you remember when I did that? I'm always doing things for you. I help you out so much, and look at how you treat me, etc. Or I help you out so much, and you know, this is what I want from you now. That's mannan. Okay. Okay. So if you feel like you are the one who is always reminding people about the favors they have done. والمتحدث بالصدقة يطلب السمعة والمعطي في ملأ من الناس يبغي الرياء والإخفاء والسكوت هو المخلص عن ذلك. So the one who gives and talks about it is seeking sum'ah. The one who gives in a place where there are lots of people, for example, desires riya, and concealment and silence, therefore, are protective from these. وقد بالغ في قصد الإخفاء جماعة حتى اجتهدوا ألا يعرف القابض المعطي وكان بعضهم يلقيه في يد الأعمى وبعضهم يلقيه في طريق الفقير وفي موضع جلوسه حيث يراه ولا يرى المعطي وبعضهم كان يصره في ثوب الفقير وهو نائم وبعضهم كان يوصل إلى يد الفقير على يد غيره بحيث لا يعرف المعطي وكان. Okay, so Ghazali here, he's talking about the ways in which some of the righteous actually went about this, how the measures that they took to ensure that they would not be recognized as the giver. Yeah, some of them would put the charity into the hand of a blind person. Some of them would leave it in the street where poor people. They would just leave it where they knew they were poor people. the places that the poor people sit, they would just leave it there for someone to take. Some of them would kind of slip it into the pocket or into the clothes of a poor person while they were sleeping. Others would pass it, from the to give it from the hand of a poor person into another person's hand, and so on and so forth. So there's a number of these a number of approaches that they would take to this. Okay. وكل ذلك توصلا إلى إطفاء الغضب الرب عز وجل واحترازا من الرياء والسمعة. So all of these are ways of extinguishing the wrath of God and avoiding riya and sum'ah. وما لم يتمكن من الإطفاء إلا من يعرف شخص واحد. Okay, so let's just so Ghazali talks quite a bit about this. Ghazali talks quite a bit about this. Okay, so one of the things that he says, and this is quite useful for us actually, is if it is not possible to give without being recognized, without a person being recognized, فتسليمه إلى وكيل ليسلم إلى المسكين والمسكين لا يعرف أولى إذ في معرفة المسكين رياء والمنة جميعا وليس في معرفة المتوسط إلا الرياء ومهما كانت الشهرة مقصودة له حبط عمله لأن الزكاة إزالة من البخل وتضعيف لحب المال وحب الجاه أشد استيلاء على النفس من حب المال وكل واحد منهما مهلك في الآخرة. لكن صفة البخل تنقلب في القبر في حكم المثال الأقرب للداغة وصفة الرياء تنقلب في القبر عفعا من العفاء وهو مأمور تطيبها. Okay, so Ghazali says, so if it is not possible for you to conceal to conceal it in this way, then it is better that you give your sadaqah through an agent. To be honest, most of us do. But do we do it because it's more convenient, or do we do it in order to maintain secrecy in giving? Okay, he says because in wanting to be in again, the translation here is wrong. It has to be said في معرفة المسكين, if the poor person recognizes you. And remember, here you're talking in Ghazali's time, you're talking about if you've been to kind of traditional cities in the Muslim world. Fez is a really good example. Actually, it's a safe place that you can actually visit very easily. And the old city is kind of you'll walk down the streets, you'll see the same people sitting in the same. They have their spots. So you give, and you give the charity to the to the poor to that poor guy sitting on the street, and the next time you walk that way, which you do anyway, you walk that way and you see him, and you kind of Assalamu alaikum, and you kind of go, it's riya now, or there is the danger of riya anyway. There's the danger of riya. Okay, so this is the ma'rifatul miskin. Okay, that poor person recognizing you as the one who gave them. Okay, and here there's a danger, he says, of riya and minna. There's the danger of riya. There's also the danger, however, that you will start to remind that person about the favor that you did for them. Or that just by walking past them and kind of going like that, it's like, you remember I'm the one that gave you. So it can be very subtle, to remember I'm the one that gave you. Okay?
So is it if you're doing it with that intention, as opposed to you could be just going past and giving your salam?
Well, this is very interesting. So is it about specifically having so is it a conscious intention? That's the real problematic one, is when you consciously intend that. However, the problem that we have is that we are, as the great philosopher Shrek said, onions, and onions have layers. Okay? There is the layer of the conscious intention. Underneath that, however, there are layers of subconsciousness. Yeah. This is where the real danger lies, and this is what Ghazali is talking about, because it's easy to simply not make the intention to do it out of Riyah. The problem is that the Riyah doesn't start at the outer layer, it starts deep inside. It starts deep inside, right? It comes, fundamentally from a need to feel loved. This is where these things come from. We just want to feel loved. We want to feel, and loved, that's the core. We want to be loved. We are insan. We want uns. We want to be loved. But no love in this world will ever be enough for us, because that's not the one we're created to want the love from. We're created to want the love from God. We are created to be a receptacle for God's love, infinite love, not the love of finite creatures, but to be the receptacle of God's love. That's what we want. But we forget that, so we just want love. Then that desire for love manifests in different. Now that's the highest human realize that is when you talk about self-actualization as the highest of the human needs. That's what you mean. It's a desire to be loved. Yeah, but to be loved by the ultimate. But it starts to manifest as just a need to be loved. So that's a need for appreciation, a need to be acknowledged, a need to be thanked. Yeah, a need for esteem, a need for people's approval. All of these things start very deep and start to build. Okay? Now, yes, it's if you are saying, I am doing this because I want people to talk about it, that's very conscious. That's very conscious. That will actually invalidate the act of worship. That conscious intention invalidates the act of worship. Okay? Where are you going to get to that point? Who do you know who does that? Oh Allah, I am performing this 2 rakats so that people will respect me. Allahu Akbar. No one does that, but that's a conscious intention. That's a conscious intention. If you got to that point, you're stage 4 cancer, man. You got stage 4 cancer at this point. Yeah? It's much more likely that the intent, the riyah, is hidden under the surface. When it's hidden under the surface, you kind of know it's there. If you think about it, if you palpate a little bit, you'll come across it. You go, oh, okay, there's a lump here. I can feel a lump. Okay? But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. Right? That's when the cancer's in your skin. Yeah, that's when it's here. What about when it's inside you? How do you detect that? And the point is that we all have the potential for this. It's about, because it's a deep thing. It's a human need for love. That's where it comes from. It's from the core of your being. But again, it is that core human need combined with blindness of God. Again, it's you go 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you ignore the 1. Because the 1, the focus on God, removes 0 and removes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you do God maths, right, your number line is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's your number line. Everything is about the 1. Okay, that's divine mathematics. Okay, that's the mathematics of the muwahhid. Everything is about the 1. Okay, when you take the 1 out, in its place, you can put any number, including 0. But you can only do that if you take the 1 out.
Then it's maths 101.
Then it's maths 101. Then it's maths 101. Yeah? And that's then the maths of creation. That's then the maths. And we need the maths of creation to live in creation, but you need the maths of the divine to succeed in the akhirah. Okay? So the point is, it comes from something very deep and at the core of human beings. Okay, if combined with a lack of realization that the one you want the love from is God, you will seek the love elsewhere. And that is the root of Riya, Sum'a, all these types of things. Okay? Do you have a question? Sorry. Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned that something that removes good deeds is anger, wounding people, slander, gossip, depression. And I'm sure when people hear that, then they think, oh, you know, I must have, and myself included, gossip this week and that I shouldn't have done that. But sometimes, could you give some guidance on the situations where the principles behind when you can discuss something that's confidential, specifically related to a couple of scenarios. One where there's mediation between people, and second one, I forgot the second one, it'll come back to me.
So, are you allowed to say bad things about people? In a nutshell, with all that I've said, are you allowed to say bad things about people? And here's what Allah says, beginning of the 6th juz of the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم. Okay? God does not love that evil be spoken about openly unless from one who is wronged. Unless one has been wronged. Okay? وَكَانَ اللَّهُ سَمِيعًا عَلِيمًا. God is the all-hearing and all-knowing. So this is a simple verse of Quran which indicates the basic principles of counseling, mediation, seeking advice, etc., etc. That yes, you do sometimes have to. What is the basic principle behind which you are allowed to talk about the bad qualities of a person? If those bad qualities of a person have directly impacted on you and you are seeking some form of redress or to sort the situation out. Okay, so there's a question that you asked, is when you are participating in counseling, mediation, arbitration, all that kind of stuff, are you participating in riba? Because the first half of those sessions is always that swine did this and that witch was like this with me, and it starts off like that, right? Yeah. So there's a question for me. This is what I do. I spend my whole life pretty much listening to horrible things about people. Yeah, I still managed to maintain my sunny disposition, nonetheless. But there we are. And the reason I managed to maintain my sunny disposition is that when confronted with the foibles of humanity, right, with the flaws of humanity, there are only two approaches: comedy and tragedy. Seriously, this is Aristotelian ethics of aesthetics. All right, this is a theory of aesthetics. All right, theory of things like plays and dramas and what have you. This is basically, you're doing this, right? You're doing this, yes? Comedy and tragedy, right? Both of them are about how stupid human beings are, basically. Okay? And tragedies are about exposing the stupidity of human beings that ultimately leads to this horrible, depressing end. Right? And you kind of go, oh no, why are you doing that? Right? Comedy is you're looking at how stupid human beings are, but eventually it all works out okay in the end. Okay? So if you don't cry, you're going to laugh. So you don't have to laugh. Okay? Anyhow. But am I allowed to do what I'm doing, or am I participating in riba when I listen to people talking, saying this about this person, that about that person, and so on and so forth? What this ultimately comes down to is the context of it resolution and redress, or is the context of it simply wanting to know bad things about people? Because why does a person participate in hearing negative things about it? But there are a number of reasons. You might either do it or you might sit and listen. Let's leave doing it because that's kind of obvious. When you're hurt, you want to talk about it. Let's talk about listening to it. You can do it because you want to mend the situation. Because you want to amend the situation might mean by bringing about resolution or bringing about separation. Okay? أَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ أَوْ فَارِقُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Either stay together with goodness or separate with goodness. Okay? The second reason might be that it allows you, the second reason might be peer pressure, right? It might be peer pressure. Everyone's doing it, so I will too. Okay. The third reason might be a feeling of great discomfort at, you know, this person is saying this stuff, but I don't really know how to stop them. So I'm just going to sit here and kind of go like this. Okay, which is an inability to perform amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. Because what you should be doing is saying, don't say bad things about people. And this is not a situation where they're just complaining about someone who's wronged them. This is they might just be talking about, you know, just how someone is, or, you know, what they learned about someone, or a normal kind of gossiping session. Yeah. Fourth reason might be that you enjoy hearing negative things about people because it makes you feel better about yourself. Well, I may be like this and like this, and that, but at least I'm not doing that. Or at least someone else is doing it too. Thank God someone else is doing it too. Yeah? Well, not thank God, but you know what I mean? At least it's not just me. All right? Okay? Another reason is that it allows you to lord things over people. You might be doing it because you can store up this information about somebody for ammunition for a later date. So there are lots of reasons why you might want to be the participant in hearing negative things about people. Okay? Some of that will be situationally determined. It's determined by a situation. So I get, you know, a video about a guy telling people to shut up when the sunnah of the Prophet is being discussed, for example, you know, that sort of thing. And yeah, you got to ask yourself, what is the benefit of you know, who is he, firstly, and what is the benefit of listening to it? And I think, Safia, you asked, you know, who is that guy so that I can avoid his talks in the future? Yeah, that's a reason to know, right? So if I see that guy, I think, oh, he's that guy. Okay, I think I will find another video on YouTube to watch instead of this one. If I'm going to spend 10 minutes of my time watching a video on YouTube, I'd rather watch this rather than that. That's a good reason to know. Okay, that's a good reason to know. Okay, but for a lot of people, especially when it comes to the, you know, the exposure of the sins of people who are meant to be righteous and meant to be scholars and so on and so forth, sometimes that's really important because it prevents them harming other people. Okay, so there have been situations. There was a very famous situation recently with a very, very famous preacher. We don't have to go into names. Very, very famous preacher who was kind of all sorts of stuff about secret marriages and what have you. That's not an uncommon thing, believe me. The number of, you know, the number of scholars that I know that have, young scholars that have ended up getting secret marriages or just flat out cheating on people and that sort of stuff, or spiritual abuse of people. And I've had people come to me, and ladies come to me and tell me this is what happened to me. And I ask, who is it? Oh, I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you. No, you have to tell me. Why? You have to tell me because I may tomorrow, I may very well be asked that can I go for so-and-so's talk, or can I go, you know, or so-and-so is having a retreat, or so-and-so is doing, you know, or so-and-so has proposed to me. Yeah, and if I don't know this, yeah, my advice, Sheikh Asim's advice, Sheikh Asim said, yes, you should go and marry that person. Sheikh Asim said you should. That carries, unfortunately, carries weight. So yes, I need to know that. Yeah, but do I want to know simply because it will allow me to say, oh, this guy reads tahajjud and does whatever? I don't read tahajjud, but at least I'm not messing about with women. So I feel a bit better. Now I don't feel the need to go and read tahajjud because I'm not messing about with women. So it evens out. Yeah, and that's problematic. Because now a lot of the reason that people listen to ghibah is so that they can reduce themselves to a lowest common denominator. I'm not doing that, and I should be. As opposed to, I'm not doing that, but at least I'm not doing that. One motivates you, the other one reduces your motivation. It weakens your motivation. Okay, so there are many reasons, and it is important to understand context and your own motivation in doing so. So one of the things, when we started off this day, and a lot of people come to me for advice about how to counsel, and say, oh no, I tell people, don't tell me all the bad stuff. Let's just talk about the solutions. No, it's not going to work. It doesn't work. That person is not, at the beginning of that conversation, they are not looking for solutions. They are looking for validation. They just want to go, bleh, and they want to vomit. They just want to vomit. Yeah? But they need to vomit. They need to vomit. After they've vomited, you've given them the space to vomit. Now you can look at what's wrong with the stomach. But they've got to vomit first, because they've got a poison inside them. And the poison is going to cause them harm. Let them get it out. Then you can start talking about solutions. But you be solution focused. And you can bring them round to solution focused. But first you have to let them get the problem out.
The reason why I'm asking, because I was listening to the vomit this week for a number of hours, and then when there's other people who are the support structure in couples, you kind of feel that they need to know a certain amount of information, and then the lines become a little bit blurred. How much information to give, how much of that bad story to give. So I was asking for the principles.
It is, so yeah, that's a very specific question.
I know,
but it is, yeah. What I'm saying to you is that the lines are blurred. That's the fact of it. The lines are blurred. Okay. There are no simple solutions to how much is enough and how much is too much. Yeah. Where this is concerned, at least, now first there is a difference between if it is about you yourself or you are doing it for someone else. When you are doing it for someone else, the hope is that there is a degree of objectivity, and the objectivity allows you to do the balancing. Yeah. So for example, well, okay, he did that, but and yes, okay, you told me all about, but to be fair, you did this. Yeah. And you need to understand how that works on the scale. Or if there are, what all my family say, which is the usual, all my family say I am right. Well, because all your family only heard your side of the story. If your family were maybe to hear that person's side of the story, they might be able to advise you a bit better, rather than continuing to kind of to encourage you down a negative road. Okay, because this is often what happens, that actually, you will tell people who support you enough for them to continue supporting you, but not necessarily enough for them to be able to advise you. There is a difference between support and constructive support. So the Prophet ﷺ said that assist your brother, he zalim aw mazlum, zalimun kana aw mazlum. Right? Assist your brother whether he is the oppressor or the oppressed. Okay, the oppressed is obvious. How do you assist your brother or your sister? If they are the oppressor, you stop them doing it. You prevent them from oppressing people, and that is assisting them. Okay, but how do you do that? How do you do that if you do not recognize that they are oppressing? Right. So what we do is, when we know that there's a bit of, this person is wrong, but we're wrong. It's the most normal situation is that both are in the wrong in some way or other. There's a question of who started it, but both are in the wrong. Okay. So what do? Well, you want support against the person wronging you. Okay. So what you do is you tell people of all the wrongs that have been done to you. In their eyes, you are now the mazloom. You are now the oppressed. And so they will go full force in supporting you, not realizing that you are 80% oppressed and 20% zalim. And when they assist you in dealing with the oppression, they are all in dealing with the oppression done to you. They are also assisting you in the oppression that you do to others. They push the whole thing. Okay. If, however, they had sufficient knowledge, well, actually, this bit, actually, that's on you. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to push that 80%, but we're going to pull 20%. Yeah. That's a very different story. But then that is about, that's about knowledge. As my father-in-law's famous phrase from my father-in-law, there are always three sides to every story. There's your side, there's my side, then there's the truth. Okay. So I think that's important. But these are this is where this isn't a skill, it's an art. Yeah, and it's about the feel of it. It's about understanding and holding yourself, and remember when you are in that sort of situation, all of us will be in at some point. Whose side are you on? God's side. That's whose side you're on. You're not on the side of the husband or the wife or the mother-in-law or the daughter-in-law or whatever, nor your side versus the other person. You are on God's side. That's the side you want to be on. Because God will be on your side as long as you are on his side. Inna Allah fi awni al-abd ma dama al-abd fi awni akhi. God will assist you as long as you're assisting your brother. Okay, God is on your side as long as you are on his side. Okay, anyway, let's move on. So Ghazali is continuing talking about some of the harms here. So he says, give rather through an intermediary. And he says that the poor person recognizing you puts you in danger of both riya and minna. So that there's you feel that sense of validation from that person because he's going to see you, right? And he knows you give it to him. But you will also, there's a temptation, you'll remind him of the favors, So next time you see him, you're carrying a few heavy shopping bags. You'll say, oh, do you mind? Do you mind helping out a bit? Because I gave you all that stuff, that sort of thing. Yeah. وَلَيْسَ فِي مَعْرِفَةِ الْمُتَوَسِّطِ إِلَّا الرِّيَاءُ. However, with the only harm in the intermediary knowing that you gave the charity is riya, but not minna. All right. So this is what now in our case it's even more than that, because you're just an anonymous line on a spreadsheet in Islamic Reliefs. For all that they send you an automated letter. It's an automated letter. Thank you for your kind donation of dear dash. Thank you for your kind donation of dash. It's an automated letter, so the computer knows it's you, but pretty much no one else will. Okay. However, and this comes back to the point that Safiya made about true consciousness, if becoming recognized for this is your conscious intention, if that is your maqsood, habita amaluhu, then the action is invalidated. لأن الزكاة إزالة للبخل. Right? Now, Ghazali here is not talking about the action being validated from a shari'i perspective, but from the perspective of reward. He says because the purpose of zakat is to remove miserliness. Okay? It is to weaken the hold of wealth over you. Right? So to weaken your love for wealth. However, hubbul jahi ashaddu istila'an ala nafs min hubbil mal. However, human beings desire or love approval more than they love wealth. They love to have a good reputation and people to have a good opinion of them more than they love wealth. Look at the celebrity culture. Lots of these kind of instant celebrities are not well off. They're not actually that wealthy, but they're very famous. And they prefer the fame to the wealth. They'd rather lose the wealth than lose the fame. Okay, because the hold it has over the heart is more than the love of wealth. And both of these characteristics, the love of esteem and approval and the love of wealth, are destructive attributes in the hereafter. However, Ghazali gives a very interesting description here. He said, ولكن صفة البخل تنقلب في القبر في حكم المثال أقربا لداغة وصفة الرياء تنقلب في القبر أفعا من العفاعي وهو أمور بتضعيفهما وقتلهما. Okay, however, he says that miserliness takes on the form in the mithal, in the grave of miserliness, is a stinging scorpion. It transforms into a stinging scorpion in the grave. But the quality of love of esteem transforms in the grave into a viper. Into a viper. So it takes on the form. This is the mithal. Okay, the mithal can be there's two ways of looking at this. The mithal can be the physical form taken by an abstract concept. So miserliness is an abstract concept, right? And in the hereafter, it takes on the physical form of a scorpion. Okay? Or it may be that miserliness is a scorpion. Its reality is a scorpion. It abstracts in this world into the quality of miserliness. Look at it both ways. Which one is the reality? Is the quality the reality, or is the form the reality? Okay? One way or the other. Ghazali is using very careful words here. Okay? But he's saying that effectively in the grave, miserliness becomes a scorpion, a stinging scorpion. Love of esteem, or love of esteem and approval becomes a viper. Okay? We are commanded to weaken or kill both of them. So we are commanded to weaken both qualities, okay? And in terms of the animals, those animals, we are commanded to kill both those animals. If they pose a risk, you are permitted, I should say, to kill a scorpion and a viper. Okay? لَدَفْعِ أَذَاهُمَا, in order to remove their harm, okay? Or at least to remove the harm, or at least weaken it. وَمَهْمَا قَصْدَ الرِّيَاءِ وَالسُّمْعَةِ كَأَنَّهُ جَعَلَ بَعْضَ أَطْرَافِ الْأَقْرَبِ قُوتًا لِلْحَيَّةِ وبقدر ما ضعف من الأقرب زاد في قوة الهيئة ولو ترك الأمر كما كان لكان الأمر أوهن إليه. So he says, whenever you see, so effectively what he is saying here is you're required to weaken or destroy both of them in order to avoid their harm, or at least avert, or at least reduce it. However, remember what he's talking to, don't get lost in the analogy here. He's talking about the fact that you give zakat in order to weaken your miserliness and to lessen your love of wealth. Okay? But in giving zakat, you may end up strengthening your love of your love of fame and your desire for fame, your desire for approval and so forth from people. Okay? Or your ostentation. So in weakening one, you may strengthen the other. All right? You may strengthen the other. Okay? So he says effectively what's happening here is, to the extent whenever you seek to be seen and heard, you strengthen the viper and weaken the scorpion. To the extent that you weaken the scorpion, you strengthen the viper. Had you left them be, both of them be, it probably would have been better for you. Okay? Why? فَكَأَنَّهُ جَعَلَ بَعْضَ أَطْرَافِ الْأَقْرَبِ. Okay, so he says, so yeah, it would have been better. Why? وَقُوَّةُ هَذِهِ الصِّفَاتِ الَّتِي بِهَا قُوَّتُهَا الْعَمَلُ بِمُقْتَضَاهَا وضعف هذه الصفات بمجاهدتها ومخالفتها والعمل بخلاف مقتضاها. فأي فائدة في أن يخالف دواعي البخل ويجيب دواعي الرياء ويضعف أذى ويقوي الأقوى فسيأتي أسرع. So, but effectively, I won't go into the detail, but what he's basically saying here is that the sustenance of each of these qualities, okay, so the viper and the scorpion effectively are sustained by you feeding them. Okay, they're sustained by you feeding them. You feed them by acting in response to their demands on you. Okay, so when you feel miserly and you don't give, you strengthen the scorpion. When you feel the desire for approval and you act in order to get approval, you strengthen the scorpion. Basically is what he's saying, right? Okay, what benefit is there then? Okay, what benefit is there to fighting, to opposing that which strengthens generosity, but at the same time giving in to that which strengthens riya, right? Because what you're doing is you're weakening the weaker one and strengthening the stronger one. If you had a choice between a viper and a scorpion, to get stung by a viper or a scorpion, which one would you be stung by? Scorpion. Scorpion will hurt the viper or the black mamba or whatever will kill you. Yeah. So what his point here is what? His point here is why is what israr does, what concealment does, and why it is an inward adab of zakat is that it allows you to weaken the scorpion, but at the same time weaken the viper. If you don't have that, you run the risk of, through weakening the scorpion by giving the zakat, you actually strengthen the viper. Okay, and that's the danger. You are effectively putting yourself in a worse position from the perspective of your characteristics and the hold that the world has over you than you were if you just not done anything at all. Okay, so we'll leave it there, inshallah. He says we'll talk about this more, however, in the chapter of the muhlikat, the destructive qualities. And, let's see. You want to stop there or you want to do one more? Up to your pencils are going away. Yeah, stop, go. What? Stop, go? I don't know what that is. Huh? Actually, I think we'll stop because I got an unexpected phone call, so I'm going to take that. We'll leave it at that, inshallah. So have a think about that. Again, the thing to focus on, you all know that secrecy and doing things secretly, you all know this. What we learned from Ghazali is why. Why and how it relates, not just to the etiquette of doing something and so forth, it relates to something that is fundamental to human beings. So the two lessons I want you to take from today is, number one, the audience. We are all, as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. We are actors on the stage. Who is the real audience? You are performing for an audience of one. Forget the many. Forget the many. You are performing for an audience of one. That's the first thing. The second, and that will help you avoid riya and all that kind of stuff. The second is that riya, sum'ah, these qualities come from a deep, from something deep within human beings. What it is a twisted and distorted manifestation of our existential need to be known and acknowledged and loved by God. Let's focus on that. Understand what it is that you are truly seeking. And the third thing, as Ghazali teaches us, is if you are weakening one bad quality and thereby strengthening another, are you actually doing yourself any favors? So understand the relative priority of actions is about understanding their effect on the soul. Okay? And often you do have to choose. Sometimes you have to choose one or the other, but sometimes there are ways of squaring the circle and deflating both of the bad qualities. Okay? That might be easy. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.